Alright, you guys didn't get to see it, but my bike started acting up. I started surging, like I was throttling up and letting out before it'd fall on its face. Battery was shot, so I got a new battery, put it in, it kept doing it. Thought it might be the carb, so I pulled the carb out to see if it was, clogged. It was clean, so basically it's an electrical issue. I've got a new rectifier, a new stator, supposed to be on their way today, and so that's what we're going to work on, and that and reassembling the bike. I've had it apart for about a week, but I'm going to test my rectifier first, which is right here. And the first test I'm going to do is the forward biased and a reverse biased on the positive side. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my multimeter. I'm going to test my wires. I connect the negative lead on my multimeter to the positive on the rectifier, and then take the positive lead and work it to each one of these yellow wires. I should get back a reading of 0.3 to 0.5 DC, and then I'm going to do a reverse bias test on the positive side as well, which take the positive wire or positive lead on your multimeter, hook it to the positive on your rectifier, and then take the negative lead and do the same thing. You work 1 to 3 of these blue or these yellow wires, and on that you should get an OL reading. And then you do the same thing on the negative. If it fails any of those tests, you know it's your rectifier. On your stator, which mine's in here, and I don't know which one it is, but I figured it's a good idea. Might as well replace them both. They both could be stock, which means they're 14 years old. And I don't know the full readings that I'm supposed to get through KTM's, but I'm going to at least test and see if I have a open line somewhere or a break in my line. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to basically take the positive lead, put it to each one of the 3 wires on the stator, work it, each one of them touching the negative lead on the multimeter to the frame or another ground. And if I get anything other than an open line reading, then that can be an issue. I can't do a full test on the stator, like I said, because I don't know the exact readings that I'm supposed to get. So I'm going to do that. And like I said, I'm replacing both of them. I have a feeling it's the stator or the rectifier, but I'm going to replace both just to be safe. But I'm going to test them anyways. That way I know which one it was. Alright, so my parts did come in. I already put the stator in. I didn't even think about showing the inside. It's an Electro Sport stator. I'm supposed to be upgraded from the factory. That's the factory stator. I did find some metal shavings stuck to some magnets. This thing's magnetic pull isn't that strong. So I'm fairly certain this thing's shot. But what you need here, I had to pull my skid plate off. Now the guy claims he made this thing. I'm not too sure about that. I can see some machining marks. Those are some good welds. This thing looks too precision to be homemade. If he did it homemade, then props to him. But I had to pull this off to get to it. Yes, my bike's laying on its side because it lets all the oil that drain to the other side of the motor. These are 8 millimeters, like most everything else on here. And I've got to route the big tails and that up to where they were originally. Now that I got the side casing on, oh yeah, when you take the side casing off, you'll find your stator in the actual casing, you know, on the cover. It's 3 4 millimeter Allens. That's what's in there. And then I used some, it's like a knockoff of a Loctite on those, because the last thing you want is those to vibrate loose and fall in to your motor. But also I was introduced, because when I pulled it off, there was a crappy gasket. I mean, it just fell apart. You can see it's old and pretty worn out, brittle. I mean, yeah, see, it breaks and falls apart. We don't have a bike shop here in town, so I was figuring I wasn't going to be able to find a gasket for it, and I was thinking maybe I'm going to have to go with some kind of silicone. But I was introduced to something that I hadn't seen before. I didn't know they made. It's been a while since I've actually dug into something like this. But when I enjoy something, I'll get my hands in it and do it. But I was introduced to this crap. Velcro gasket. It says it's good for sealing oil, coolant, and gasoline. And it costs like $5 for that roll, which I could pretty much gasket my entire motor with what's in there. Maybe need 2 of them, so you'd be $10. But just the top end gasket for this kit for this motor alone is like $50. If it holds up on here like it says it will, I see that being as a viable option. It costs $5 for that roll. You lay your part down, trace it out, then cut it out, and you have a gasket. I mean, they're not, you know, rubber or silicone gaskets, but they're a thicker, you know, paper style gasket. For the price, really. I mean, and in a pinch, like I said, there was no way I would have had the gasket today, and I'm hoping to have this thing running today. So yeah, I'm going to get back to doing this. I'm going to stand the bike back up, route these wires, get stuff plugged in, then maybe mount the tank and see if I can get it fired, or get it fired up. And then if all goes well, I'll be throwing all the plastics and everything on it and be good to go. But yeah, Electro Sport Stator, I'll be back after I get the wire routed. And I might come back actually after I put the new rectifier in, because I've got a Rix something rectifier, which is supposed to be upgraded from factory as well. Cost me like $200, just over $200 for both of them, which if they are upgraded from factory, I mean, even if they're not upgraded from factory, the factory ones were like $200 a piece. These cost me just over $200 for the set, from 2 different places. But they got here early. I ordered them early Thursday. They were telling me I wouldn't have them until like Tuesday and Wednesday. And here it is, actually Saturday. And I have them. I ordered them Thursday morning, and I have them today on Saturday. So, you know, yeah, Thursday, Friday, not even 2 days I have them. So that's really cool. But yeah, I'm going to get back to doing this, and I'll be back after I get the rectifier put in. Alright. Now the rectifier's in. It's got the little pigtail that comes off this way, plugs directly in to your power supply from the factory one. And again, it is a, there we go, Rix Motorsports, and that's what I use for Sorry, got a little side track, Harley and my daughter came up. But yeah, that's a Rick's Motorsport rectifier and a Electrosport stator. So yeah, this plugged right in. I ran the wire where the factory wire ran, right along here. Now to get it down in here, through here, you do got to loosen these bolts for your air box. You let it shift a little bit. They're 8mm like everything else. Your rectifier bolts here and here are 10mm. And then for the power, the wires coming off the, yes, that is a sock stuck in my head because I didn't want crap to get in there. Like I said, it's been down for a week. It runs right, get that out of the way, it runs right up there, comes through, and then you can tuck it in right under the starter. Right there, you can get your wires through there and pull it up, and then they'll slide right under the starter like the original factory wiring. And then I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up taping that off. I'm pretty sure that's the one I got to tape off because these are carbureted, but they have a throttle positioning sensor that I haven't used because apparently it's been unplugged since I got the bike. You don't really need them, but from what I was reading, with it plugged in, they act a little wonky. You know, they'll get a little hesitation to the throttle, and not, it takes some away from the bottom end. But like I said, this has been unplugged since I got it, so I'm just going to leave it unplugged, and I'm going to tape it up, unlike whoever unplugged it. You know, they didn't tape it. So I'm going to wrap some electrical tape around the wires that I'm not going to use. That way there's nothing getting in there, you know, at least less chance of something getting in there and shorting something out. So yeah, now I'm gonna put the carb back in, which is probably going to be a pain because it was a pain to get out. You know, I took it straight up from here, and that's why I have not plugged the rectifier into the stator yet, because I want a clear pathway to, you know, drop that starter down in there, or carburetor down in there. Yeah, so I'll be back after I get that done, because once I get the carburetor in and get my wires plugged in, I should be able to hook it up to fuel and be able to see if she fires up. And hopefully she fires right up, and if she does, I'm throwing all the plastics and that on it, and I'll take it for a ride and see how she does. So I'll be back after the carb back in. I've got the carburetor back in, which is a pain to get in and out. You've got a couple breather lines. You got to pull like this one. You know, oil breather line on the other side. They go right up into the middle of the frame. Because I just dropped, you know, pulled it in and dropped it in and out of the between the frame. And then you've got your cables here. Don't make the mistake I did and forget to hook your throttle cables back up before putting the carb back in there, because it is a pain. This bolt right here and the one that's just on the other side of this cover are 10mm, and then that little guy there is an 8 on both of them. And then obviously your hose clamps, and that are 6s, 6mm that is. I've got the tank setting on there, and I've hooked the fuel up. I have not tried to crank it yet, but I've got everything hooked up. Rectifier's plugged in to the stator. The stator's, well, that's all it plugs into. Got all that hooked up. So now we're gonna turn the key. We're gonna see if she'll fire up. First, we're gonna make sure she's in neutral. feels like neutral. If she jumps, we know it's not. Yeah, she's not neutral. So let's try again. I'm going to pause this for a minute. Alright, I need to get my battery jump box and hook up to it because the battery's pretty low. Oh, helps if I turn the fuel on too. Let me try that now that we've got some fuel on. Okay, we've got the jump box on there. It takes about 90 seconds to get the power up, to the battery. So it'll let me know when it's ready to be fired up. And when that happens, I'm going to have to put my phone down and pause the video because I don't know if it's a neutral or not. The neutral light don't work, and I can't seem to find neutral, so I'm going to have to hold the clutch and push the fire button. So, yeah. Haven't fired it up just yet. Still got about a minute. So far, this hasn't been too horrible. I know I'm going to have to adjust the carb. My idle control, I've got that wound all the way up because I want to be able to adjust my idle. It says it's supposed to sit between 15 and 2500 RPMs at an idle, which it wasn't. So I'm going to crank the idle up a little bit if I can get her fired up and running. I'm crossing my fingers hoping this is, get her up and going again because she's been down for a week. So, yeah. Listen, she's running, Linda, listen. That's with the choke off. It's still cranked way up. I haven't adjusted. But she's running. I might take the idle there. Maybe turn it down a little higher. She's running. Which makes me very happy. Yeah, I think I'm going to turn it down right here. But that's kind of hot. Let's give her a little bit. Still running. I think I just melted my catalyst. That's my exhaust smoking. Need to adjust my rear jack back here. she hasn't died. I'll shut it down and see if she'll fire back up. Ugh. Adjusted it a little bit. It's a little